Hello everyone, you should be on the page titled Notes, Simplifying Expressions by Combining Like Terms. Let's talk about some vocabulary to start with. A coefficient is the number in front of a variable. So for example, if we have 3x, we would say that 3 is the coefficient. If we have x, we don't see the number 1 in front of the x, but 1 times x is the same as x. So for x, we would say that 1 is the coefficient. Then we have terms. Terms are parts of an expression that are to be added or subtracted. So terms are always joined by a plus or minus sign. Parts of an expression that are to be added or subtracted. For example, we have the expression 2x plus 3y plus 5. This expression has 3 different terms or parts. It has the 2x, the 3y, and the 5. So this expression has 3 different terms. Okay, like terms are terms containing the same variables raised to the same powers. So terms containing the same variables raised to the same powers. So in order to be like terms, both the variable and the exponent have to be the same. Constants or numbers are also like terms. So let's look at this list of terms below. Let's pick out the terms that have the same variable raised to the same power. So let's start with the x here. We're going to put a square around everything that is a like term to this x. So let's start looking for like terms. These are not like terms. This has a y. This has no variable. This has a y. Now this one has an x. So is it a like term? It's not a like term because the exponent is different. This one has no exponent, so we assume the exponent is 1. This one has an exponent of 2. However, this would be a like term because it also has an x, and this would be a like term. Okay, now let's find all of the terms that are like the 2y, and we'll circle those. This one is like the 2y, and this one is like the 2y. Notice the coefficients can be different, but the variable and the exponent has to be the same. Okay, so now we're looking for all of the terms that have no variable in them. So we have -5 and we have 2. And then this 3x squared has no like term with it. We'll just put a triangle around that. Combining like terms means adding and subtracting like terms. So whenever we have like terms, we can simplify the expression by adding or subtracting those like terms. For example, if we have 12x plus 3x, those are like terms. So we can add them together. 12x's plus 3x's would give us a total of 15x's. So 12x plus 3x is 15x. Okay, let's try a few examples here. Let's start with example number 1. First, we're going to identify our like terms. So we have a 3x and a 2x that can be combined together. We also have a 4y and a 5y that can be combined together. And I'm going to make sure that I include the operation sign in front with the term, because that tells me whether that term is positive or negative. So now let's add the like terms. 3x plus 2x is 5x. 4y plus 5y is 9y. We can't simplify this any further because these two terms are not alike. Okay, let's move on to example 3. Let's first identify our like terms. So we have two terms that do not have variables with them. And then we have two terms that have an m with them. And notice again how I include the operation sign with the number or variable that it is in front of. So let's combine like terms. 6 plus 7 is 13. Now we have negative m plus 9m. What is the coefficient that is in front of the m? Remember up at the top when we had x, if there was no coefficient, we say that 1 is the coefficient. So we can write a 1 in front of this m. Negative 1m plus 9m would be 8m, because negative 1 plus 9 is 8. Okay, let's move down to number 6. Identify like terms. Negative x, negative 3x, positive 7y squared, positive y squared. Again, we're going to write a 1 in front of this x. So we have negative 1x minus 3x. Okay, I'm just going to make this one a little bit easier, I'm going to gather the like terms together before I combine. So negative 1 minus 3 would give us negative 4x. And 7y squared plus y squared, let's write a 1 in front of the y squared because it doesn't have a coefficient. 7y squared plus 1y squared would give us 8y squared. Let's talk for a minute, how did I get this negative 4? Let's review subtracting integers. We've got negative 1 minus 3. Remember that subtracting a number is the same as adding its opposite. So I can change negative 1 minus 3 to negative 1 plus negative 3. And when we're adding integers, if the signs are alike, then the sign stays the same. So -1 plus -3 would give us -4. So that's how we got a -4x here. Okay, let's do just one more example here. Example number 9. We're going to be very careful when identifying our like terms here. Our first term has only an x. So the only term that would go along with that is the positive 6x because it has only an x. This term has both an x and a y. This term also has both an x and a y. This term has no term that goes along with it. Now let's combine like terms. -5x plus 6x, we'll first just rewrite to gather our like terms. So, -5x plus 6x. -5 plus 6 is a positive 1. 2xy minus 3xy is -xy. And then we bring down our 2y. Okay, let's review a little bit adding integers that have signs that are not alike. So let's go back to the -5 plus 6. So -5 plus 6. When you are adding integers that are not alike, one way to think about it is a negative team and a positive team. So if we have a negative team and a positive team here, which team has more? Well, the positives have 6 and the negatives have 5. So the positives have more. So the positives are going to win because they have more. So that means our answer is going to be positive. How many more do the positives have? Well, they only have 1 more. So our answer is going to be positive 1. Let's do that again with our 2 minus 3. Remember we said in the last problem that subtracting a number is the same as adding its opposite. Now we have a positive 2 plus a negative 3. Which team has more, the negatives or the positives? Well, this time it's the negatives that have more, so the negatives are going to win. How many more do they have? They only have 1 more. Okay, let's end this section by having you guys pause the video and do the challenge problem. Okay, so what do you think? Can 4xy and -10yx be combined? Why or why not? The answer is that yes, they can be combined because they both have the same variables. They both have an x and a y. The variables are in a different order, but they both have an x and a y. And remember, the order of multiplication is not important. We can switch the order of multiplication without changing the problem. So the answer is that yes, these can be combined because they both have x and y. Okay, flip over to the back of that notes page that we were just working on, and we're going to do a few application problems. One of the ways that we apply combining like terms is by finding the perimeter of shapes. Remember that to find the perimeter, we have to add up all of the sides. So let's start with this triangle right here. So we're going to add all of the sides together to find the perimeter. So we'll be combining like terms when we do this. So let's identify our like terms. We have 3 terms that have x's, and then we have 2 constants. So let's gather our like terms together. -x, and we're going to write that as -1x plus 2x plus 5x, and then we have our constants, plus 3 minus 7. So negative 1x plus 2x. Remember, there's more positives than negatives, so the positives are going to win by 1. So that's going to give us 1x plus 5x. Now, 3 minus 7, we'll change this to plus a negative. 3 plus negative 7, there's more negatives than positives, so the negatives win. So that'll give us negative 4. We still have two x's that we can combine, so 1x plus 5x's will give us 6x. So the perimeter of this object is going to be 6x minus 4. Okay, let's look at one where not all of the sides are labeled. For example, we have this rectangle here, and they only give us the length of one side and the width of the other. But what do we know about the sides of a rectangle? We know that the opposite sides of a rectangle are congruent, or the same measure. So since the width is 6x, it's also going to be 6x over here. Since our length is 6x, or 2x minus 8, the length is also going to be 2x minus 8 down here. So now we can combine like terms. Here's our x's. Here's our constants. So we have 2x plus 2x plus 6x plus 6x, just gathering together our x's, minus 8 minus 8. Now let's combine our x's. 2x plus 2x is 4x, plus 6x is 10x, plus 6x is 16x. Now let's combine our constants. Negative 8 minus 8 can be changed to negative 8 plus negative 8. So our two integers that we're adding have the same sign. They're both negative, so our sign is going to stay negative. Negative 8 plus negative 8 is negative 16. We're not going to work this problem here. I'm just going to point out to you that this is a regular hexagon, so that means that all of the sides have the same length. So to figure the perimeter, you would just label all the sides with 12 minus 5x squared. And then combine the like terms. Let's look at a couple of word problems. We have a square has a side with a length of 4a. Find the perimeter of the square in terms of a. Whenever we're dealing with a word problem about a shape, it's always a good idea to draw that shape. So I'm going to draw a square here. And it says it has a side with a length of 4a. And what do we know about the sides of a square? We know that all of the sides are congruent, or the same measure. So to find this perimeter of the square, we're going to combine the like terms. We're going to add the sides. We have a 4a on each side. So 4a plus 4a is 8a, plus 4a is 12a, plus another 4a is 16a. Okay, last problem and we're finished. A rectangle has a width represented by W. Okay, so the width of this rectangle is W. The length is 3 more than twice the width. Express the perimeter of the rectangle in terms of W. So again, we have a shape. Let's start by drawing a picture. That will really help you visualize it. So the width is represented by W. So we have two widths here. We have a W here and a W here. The length, so this is our length, is 3 more than twice the width. So now we're just translating like we did in our first lesson. More than means plus. It's also a turnaround word. So the 3 is going to switch places to after the plus sign, and twice the width, 2w, is going to come before the plus sign. This length is also 2w plus 3. Now let's combine like terms. We've got a lot of w's and 2 constants. So 2w plus 2w is 4w, plus 1w, 5w, plus 1w, 6w. Positive 3 plus positive 3 is 6. Please bring your notes to class tomorrow.